We can be, in the interest of everybody's time. So today is our final prerequisite for the Bridges Out of Poverty training that's coming up in a few weeks, May 21st and 22nd. If you have not signed up yet, please contact Nanette Rancis-Kilmer to let her know which day you want to sign up for. One day is fuller than the other, so if you have not yet signed up, please do so. The couple other announcements I wanted to make. We have been recording these trainings so that you have the opportunity to see them if you were unable to attend one of the previous sessions. So the original plan was to upload those to Relias so you could watch them on there. We've had some technical difficulties, but they've all been burned to CDs and they can be signed out at Staff Training Center. Or they also are on YouTube, so if you need the YouTube link, you can contact Chris Anderson and he can send them to you that way. So we're going to go that route for viewing the session. The YouTube, if you're watching them from your work computer, it's going to buffer, and that was the problem with Relias, so just be mindful of that. Okay, so I am very excited about today's session. I've had the privilege of being able to preview it. And I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker to you today. So Cody Ann Chambers works at the Resource Center. She's worked here for over 6 years and brings a wealth of knowledge from her field. Cody is part of the Employment Services team, so we recognize every day how lucky we are to have her as part of our team. Although most of the work that she does is through the probation department. We have a grant that the Resource Center has with the county probation department, and prior to that grant, we had one with the Chautauqua County Jail. So her background and her expertise is working with people that are justice involved and have gone through the criminal justice system. Cody has a master's in rehab counseling and is a certified rehabilitation specialist. This is, when you see her business card, all of these are in acronyms after her name, and they're very long. She is an offender workforce development specialist and an instructor for that. She's an offender employment retention specialist and an instructor for that, and a global career development facilitator. So she has a lot of expertise in the area of retention and retention strategies for people, not only for those involved in the criminal justice system, justice involved individuals. The other thing I wanted to point out is Cody just recently completed a project. It was a national study for the Employment Retention Inventory, and it was a replication study that was used to look at assessments and predict employment retention outcomes. And so the study was just summarized and was sent out to the county because people in Chautauqua County were involved, and Cody and her partner Julie from the probation department were involved in helping implement that and give the data. And she just received some national recognition for that and some recognition just in an email yesterday from our county executive in her work on that project. So we're very excited that Cody is here today to share some of her knowledge and some of the strategies that she uses. So again, I want to remind everybody that these are, and this kind of lends itself more to your workforce and your staff, but as we've been going through these different sessions, we've been really trying to focus on our workforce and our supervisors to prepare us for the Bridges training. So just kind of keep that in mind, that the tools and the things that she's using and she's going to talk about is really geared towards your staff. Okay? Thank you and welcome, Cody.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
I only have 4 people in the room. Oh, there you are. So like Terry said, I work with the probation office. So my experience is not supervising coworkers. My experience is supervising high-risk unemployed probationers. So I don't want to spend today, oh, it goes down. I don't want to spend today talking at you. I want to spend today talking with you because I need your input on supervising and managing coworkers and people that work under you because I don't know about that. I don't do that. What I do know how to do is how to lead people to change. And if we want to retain the employees that you work with or that work under you, we need them to grow. And in order to grow, you need to change. Can we agree on that? Great. So I'd like to spend the next hour and a half sort of in the crosshairs of our experience and what we can find together. So I would really like it to be interactive. We do not have to hold questions until the end. If you have something to say, please say it. Anything else that you hope to get out of this that I haven't sort of talked about? Or Terry didn't talk about? You don't know, because you don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is point out that you can't change what you're not aware of. And I have a great little video that I want to show you. It's an awareness test, so we'll see how you all do.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
So if you Google that, they did not replace the moonwalking bear in the second time. He's there in the first time. Did anybody see him? A couple? So I showed this to my husband, who's like the least aware person that I know. And he's like, what's with the bear? And I'm like, are you kidding me? But I'd sort of like to talk about some things today that are opportunities that are missed because they're not looked for. This is the Resource Center statement of beliefs. And even though I'm not really going to cover them, I'm hoping that after this workshop, you can reflect back on these and sort of make some connections. Can I have a volunteer read the first one? We believe every individual is unique. Every individual is unique. Can somebody read the second one? Somebody other than Michelle.
We believe in respect for human dignity.
Respect for human dignity. Now somebody read the third one.
We believe in the inherent value of every individual.
Every individual, right? The right to make choices, unique contributions, opportunity for lifelong growth. Relationships are important. Let me say that one again. Relationships are important. And individuals should be encouraged. So we as the Resource Center, we believe these things. Alright. So I'm going to start out with the relapse prevention model. This is part of that study that Terry was talking about, was developed by the National Institute of Corrections, and this wonderful woman named Pat Taylor studies the relationship between employment and recidivism. Recidivism is the rate that you go back into the criminal justice system. But she has come up with a strategy to relate employment retention to the relapse prevention model. So the relapse prevention model was an evidence-based practice designed for the treatment of alcoholism. Marlatt in 1985, that's the year I was born, sort of designed this with a guy named Gordon. And he's the one, Marlatt was the one that connected physical reactions. And I'm going to talk about physical reactions in a little bit, but I just think it's really cool that he's the one that added that to it. So, reacting to warning signs to prevent job loss, okay? That's cognitive behavioral therapy. Do I have anybody, like, where's my social work majors and my counselors? Like, anybody familiar with CBI, CBT? The basis of this is that thinking controls behavior. That's like the bottom line of cognitive behavioral interventions. That was sort of brought about in 1960 by Dr. Aaron Beck. Dr. Aaron Beck is like my hero because CBI works. He's still alive, he's 97, so like he's retaining his life, right? But thinking controls behavior. So It's a set of strategies to anticipate and cope with the problem of relapse. When we talk about employment retention, relapse is a job loss trigger, okay? A job loss indicator is something different that we're going to talk about on the next slide, but a job loss trigger is something that happens that could make you possibly lose your job. So that could be getting frustrated and lashing out at your boss or at a coworker or at somebody that you support, right? So if we identify situations that are high risk and we enhance the coping skills, we increase self-efficacy, right? And that leads to restructuring our perceptions. And you learn from relapse. So you learn from those job loss triggers. You take that experience and you learn from it. Just like an alcoholic would learn from their relapse. What was high risk for me? Why did that happen? So an example, we'll take an example from my line of work. It might be an extreme example for you guys because I'm going to talk about like something that somebody on probation would think. But a high risk situation would be I hang out with people who use heroin, but I'm on probation. And I'm addicted to heroin, but I'm on Suboxone, right? So somebody wants to buy my Suboxone, and that would allow me to buy some heroin, right? That would be a high-risk situation. So in order to cope with that, I might use some new thinking, right? Instead of thinking, gee, I could sell this Suboxone, and then I could buy some heroin, you think, I don't want to go to jail. I want to continue on probation because I love my kids. And if I go to jail, I'll lose my kids. That's a new perception. So that new thinking is the coping skill. You don't buy the heroin. You don't go to jail. You do keep your kids. That's increasing self-efficacy because it works, right? And then that starts to restructure your perceptions. That's the relapse prevention model in terms of job retention. Am I losing anyone? Okay. So if we talk about job loss indicators, right, these are these little red flags, these warning signs that somebody might be leading to a job loss trigger. So examples, expressions of job dissatisfaction, chaotic family life, staying out too late, your family is concerned about you. What are some other ones that you have noticed? If you think way back to Sheridan and Stephen Cobbs from MHA's workshop and ACEs scores, what are some of those other things that might lead to a job loss trigger? Lack of child care. Transportation issues. Substance abuse, right? Depression, mental illness, anxiety, right? If you think about those ACEs scores, people in poverty generally have high ACEs scores, right? So if you think about those, these are probably some of the things that people you supervise are dealing with, right? Have you heard individuals that you work with express job dissatisfaction? Or how chaotic their family life is at home? Maybe due to lack of childcare. They're out late. They're coming to work tired. They're not fully prepared. Their family is concerned about them, which makes them concerned about themselves. Can somebody give me an example, without naming names, just like a general example of a situation that you're sort of dealing with somebody you know that sort of that indicates one of these, a job loss indicator? That you noticed? Sure.
I have a staff that just called me yesterday and said her new babysitter just quit on her.
Okay.
So she's just been back to work a week, and now she's dealing with finding a new babysitter.
Right.
Or a brand new baby.
So that's sort of a chaotic family life, right? You just had a baby, you got a sitter, you've been back to work a week, and now the sitter quits on you, right? So your warning sign, there's three types of warning signs when we think about CBI and relapse. Those are risk thoughts, risk feelings, and then if you think back to Marlat, physical reactions. So put yourself in the situation of being a brand new mom, of being back to work for a week, right? You're probably broke. Babies are expensive, right? And your babysitter quits. What's a risk thought you might have? I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna have to quit my job. There's no way I can continue in this employment. I don't have a sitter, I'm gonna have to quit my job. Exactly, right? That's a risk thought. She doesn't want to quit her job, but she thinks instantly, I'm gonna have to quit my job. So if your risk thought is, I'm gonna have to quit my job, what might be a risk feeling, an emotion that would go along with that?
Fear.
Fear, anxiety, right? Disappointment, frustration. Does anybody like to feel any of those things? No. So physical reactions, if you connect back to Marlatt, who I think was a genius, what happens to your body physically when you think, I'm going to have to quit my job, and you're frustrated and you're disappointed? What physically happens in your body?
Blood pressure goes up.
Your blood pressure goes up. What else?
You might end up with insomnia and then overtired.
Yeah, insomnia, overtired, your mind is racing, right? Anybody that's ever experienced depression or anxiety, you get that, like, your body starts doing this, right? Relief feels like this, anxiety and depression feels like this, right? So, what do you do with those? And what are some coping strategies to do with that? What you have to do is you have to recognize those warning signs, those risk thoughts, those risk feelings, and those physical reactions. Because no one likes to feel that way, right? We all agree that nobody likes to feel frustrated and disappointed. Those are warning signs. You don't have to feel that way. You're telling yourself to feel that way because you're telling yourself you have to quit your job, right? So what you need to do is recognize it, calm down, whatever works for you, right? Deep breathing, visualizing a happy, safe place. Get away from it for a minute. And then replace those thoughts, because thinking controls behavior. So instead of thinking, I have to quit my job, what's a new thought that you could have that's going to reduce that risk of quitting your job?
Need to find childcare.
I need to find childcare. I can get through this. I've been here before, and I made it then, I can make it now. Right? So if you think, instead of, I have to quit my job, you think, I can do this. I've done it before. I can get through this. Now how do you feel? Better, empowered, right? And it's that easy. That's the relapse prevention model and CDI. It's that easy, right? Just those little new thinking. That's it. Okay. So, who's ever had an amazing boss? What made that boss amazing?
Listen, understanding.
They listened, they understood. What else?
He trusted you.
Ooh, so many. What?
He trusted you.
Trusted, involved. They have one over here.
Empower you to make your decisions.
Empower you to make your own decisions. Something similar to that, yeah.
You have a lot of patience.
Patience, right? So take a look at this slide. If you have Facebook, you've probably seen it. Right? The difference between a boss and a leader. Driving employees instead of coaching employees. This is sort of similar, right? We talked about these things on the left. That's what makes a good boss, right? That's what makes a good supervisor. That's what makes you want to please them and come to work. So the things on the leader side lead us into transformational leadership. Has anybody ever heard of that? So this was a cool guy, Gregor Burns and Bernard Bass, in the late 70s and early 80s. James McGregor Burns developed transformational leadership in the military. He used this to encourage and retain enlisted men, which I think is really interesting because I think it would be a lot harder to retain someone who has to face war than it will be to retain someone that has to face coming to a TRC house, right? I'm hoping they don't feel like that's war. So I have another video that will explain transformational leadership much better than I will.
make today worse for everyone by using coercive power. Transactional leaders make today better by rewarding good performance. In contrast, transformational leaders are focused on making tomorrow better. They do this in 4 ways. Firstly, vision. Transformational leaders create a noble vision to work towards that inspires others. Secondly, authenticity. Transformational leaders are authentic in their commitment to the mission, not just to personal gain. Their integrity inspires the team to take action. Thirdly, a growth mindset. Transformational leaders cultivate their team's professional and personal development. They invest time and energy, knowing their effort will eventually bear fruit. And they recognize both an individual's effort as well as their performance. And finally, creativity. Transformational leaders encourage team members to develop ideas, work with flair, and embrace originality. They allow measured risks, which helps to foster a culture of innovation. In short, teams with transformational leaders are constantly being transformed for the better. To review, transformational leaders work towards a noble vision, act with authenticity and honesty, adopt a growth mindset, and promote creativity and new ideas. Download this HD video for free at www.betterbusinesslearning.
All right. So, small groups, partners, people you work with, somebody that's sitting near you. I would like you to answer these 2 questions. What did you take away from the video? And how can you incorporate or implement ideas from the video into your own supervision, into your own work, into your own lives? So let's take 5 or 6 minutes, and I'll get your attention. I'll be up here like doing jumping jacks or something. So go ahead, talk. So much you can't stop talking about it. You want some jumping jacks? Yeah, okay, there we go. Oh, that worked, wow. Okay, so, I apologize about the audio on the video. I'm going to fully blame that on Chris Anderson. So, when you fill out your evaluation, and it says anything you would improve, and there's where you want to put the audio sucked, just go ahead and write, Chris Anderson should have turned on the volume. All right, so, what did you get from the video? Those of you that could hear the video.
Just that you have to work with people and not help them.
Okay, so working with people.
Well, there wasn't parallel. Yes, the video was hard to hear. Problems are hard to hear, especially if I'm not listening for them.
Wish I would have thought about that instead of blaming Chris.
They'll both be hard to hear.
Yeah, problems are hard to hear, right? We need to work with people. What else did you get out of the video?
I think being able to allow your employees to come up with their ideas and support them in bringing those ideas to fruition.
How good does that feel? Has anybody ever had an idea, brought it to your supervisor, and your supervisor was like, yeah, go with it? Okay, so how does that feel? How does it feel when your idea is shot down? We can go the other way. How does it feel when your idea is shot down? It sucks. It sucks, right? Yeah. You're like, nah, right? Because, so I work in probation, and I have like this mindset of like helping and welcoming. So when somebody is transferred to our caseload, I send them a letter. The way I wanted the letter to sound was, welcome to the Employment Focused Services Program. You've been selected, right? That's what I wanted to say. The probation supervisor wanted to say, you are mandated to report on May 9th at 10 a.m. Otherwise, a violation will be filed, right? So my welcoming letter got shut down. Eventually, we negotiated it somewhere in the middle of that, but yeah, it feels bad when your idea is shot down, right?
When an employee of mine comes to me with a great idea, and they do, they come up with terrific ideas, I say to them, after I listen to the whole thing, I say to them, would you do me a favor and send me an SCOM, it's an internal email, about it? And the first time they hear me say this, they say, well, I just got done explaining it to you, why do I have to do that? Well, the reason I want you to do that is so that when I pass it along, your name is on it. You send it to me, I pass it along. And when they get positive reinforcement back from higher levels than me about a great idea, that's better than a pay raise.
Right. Yeah. The little pat on the back I got yesterday from the man, right, from the county executive, felt pretty great, right? Exactly. Okay, so how about vision? How can you incorporate vision into your supervision? Anybody have any ideas about vision?
You gotta be thinking of the future and not always stuck in what we're dealing with right now, even though we're addressing it.
So Jessica said you have to look towards the future, right? Not always be stuck where you're at right now, but where do you want to be, right? Has anybody ever ridden a horse? No one in the room has ridden a horse. Okay, so if you ride a horse and you look where you want to go, because the horse, you'll do this thing with your body, right? You'll end up going where you look. It's the same idea with work, right? You'll go where you look. And if you're always looking down, where are you going to end up? On the ground, right? Yeah, so how else can we incorporate vision? Looking towards the future.
We were talking about sharing like the statement of beliefs, or even like we have outcomes, and have them be present, like stenciled on the walls, or signs about the time clock, so just have them out there.
Enhancing a noble vision, right? We believe. We go back to the vision statement, right? We believe. Anything else when it comes to vision?
Modeling what you want to see.
Modeling, and we're going to get to that, right? Being a role model for what you want to see.
And including the employees. Input.
Yeah, including them, taking their input, right? How about authenticity? How can you incorporate authenticity into your supervision and into your teams?
Roll up your sleeves and dig in.
Yeah, roll up your sleeves and dig in yourself, right? And giving that recognition, right? I want your name on it when I pass it along. Yeah.
I think you have to be as honest with them as you can, and not just pretend to listen. You have to really listen and give them an honest answer. And I think you really have to care, because it shows you're putting an honest. You really do.
Right, you have to listen. Listening is an interesting skill. When you listen, when you actively listen, you are looking at them in the eye and you are thinking about what they are saying. What do we generally do when we listen to someone? Do we think about what they're saying, or do we think about what we want to say in response? That's not listening. That's responding, right? So thinking about what they're saying, putting your focus on that, giving them that authenticity. Yeah. Anything else about authenticity?
You have to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
If you give somebody something to do and you say, "Look, call me if you need any help, call me, I'll be there," and you need to be there, you need to be available.
You need to be there, you need to be available. Exactly. Do what you say you're going to do. You have to be authentic yourself, right? Anything else about authenticity? Yeah.
When you make a mistake, admit it.
When you make a mistake, admit it, right? How real does that make you? Makes you pretty real, right? Yeah. How about growth? How can you implement growth and promote growth within your teams?
You have to recognize that it's going to take the whole team. You can't do it all by yourself.
There you go, right? Yeah. You take one strand of raw spaghetti, you can snap it pretty easy. You take the whole box and try to do it at once, it's a little bit more difficult, right? It takes a whole team. Anything else about promoting growth? Yeah.
You have to give them the opportunity to do something new, to a new challenge.
Right, you can't grow unless something new is presented, a new challenge, right? Because you can't learn unless you relapse, right? You can't learn unless you have a new experience. Theodore Roosevelt has this really great quote about being in the arena and about critics, but he says that the really awesome people fail, but they fail daring greatly. And I like that. They fail daring greatly. You have to let them take those risks, right? What else about growth?
Celebrate it when you see it.
Yeah, that's a good one, right? Celebrate it when you see it. Feels good, right? What's the number one thing that people want in a job? Appreciation. They want to like it, right? If you hate your job and you never get any recognition for what you do and you're never allowed to grow and try new things and you can't be authentic, you can't be your real self, and you're not working towards any sort of vision, you're like that old cartoon where it's like, morning Sam, morning George, those dogs that like punch in. Have you ever seen that Looney Tunes cartoon, right? That's terrible. That's terrible. We're not going to get anywhere if we're not going anywhere, right? How about creativity? How can you promote creativity? Nobody got to creativity because I didn't give you enough time?
I think celebrating your differences. Everyone has different backgrounds, everyone has different strengths, so draw on that.
Yeah, right? Taking advantage of that. Everybody is different and that's awesome, right?
Instead of saying, we have this problem and this is how we're going to solve it, we have this problem, let's talk about, you come up with some solutions, you come up with ideas.
So you have a problem, right? This is how we're going to deal with this problem. Right? So he hit on something that I love because I've had the opportunity with the ESPRI program and being a success coach. Love that. It's way more fun to be a success coach than it is to be an employment facilitator. But we got to work with this woman named Jane Fisher who does creative problem solving. And she talks about thinking outside the box, right? Thinking about things that go way out here, right? Because those might have some really great ideas to bring you back to center. People who do research on problem solving say that brainstorming ideas is the most important part of problem solving, which originated in Buffalo, UB, if anybody wanted to know. Probably that creative problem solving, yeah, brainstorming. What else about creativity?
Ask for it.
Yeah, encourage it, ask for it. What are your ideas? You know, even if it's off the wall, you know, don't knock it down right away, right? Because that off the wall idea might lead us to something that's a little bit more centered. That's great. Anybody think that they could be a transformational leader? Yes. At least some head nods or something, right? You can be a transformational leader. You just have to think about these things. You just have to be a little bit more aware, right? This is an awareness test. Looking for opportunities that you might not be looking for, right? So we talked a little bit about role models and how that works. Anybody know where that theory comes from? Do I have any education majors? Anybody education degree? Nobody has an education degree? I'm the only one in the room with an education degree? Okay, so you've heard about social learning theory, right? Okay, Albert Bandura, social learning theory. He's still alive, 93 years old, living in Canada. He's retaining his life, right? So, John, what do you know about social learning theory?
It was a while ago.
Yeah, right. It's like, I know, I took that in psychology, we covered that. So what Bandura said with his theory was that we will imitate our role models, right? We want to be like them. We will do what they do, right? Whether that behavior is a good behavior, whether my role model is a drug dealer, right? Or my role model is my supervisor at work. We want to do what they do. We want to imitate what they're doing, right? And then the second idea that he had was that people respond to reinforcement, right? Positive or negative, but I prefer positive, looking for things they're doing well and congratulating them on it, even if it's something that they should be doing anyway, right? So I have two stepsons. When one of them gets the milk out of the fridge, pours a glass of milk, puts the cap back on the milk, and then puts the milk back in the fridge, I say, thank you. Thank you, that is awesome, thank you for doing that, right? You think, duh, put the cap on the milk, put the milk back in the fridge, right? But I want to reinforce that behavior, right? Thank you for putting the cap on. The milk did not get spilled, the milk will not go bad, the milk is back in the fridge. So, providing positive reinforcement even for things that they should be doing anyway. You want to reinforce that. That's the behavior you want, right? But also, as supervisors, that means you have to emulate the behavior you want to see in your employees. And that can be tough because we don't always have 10 days, right? Sometimes we have days that are like 4s, 3s. We're not always on our game. So that can be tough, but you have to be mindful. You want to be the change you see, or be the change you want to see, right? Okay. Any questions about transformational leadership or social learning theory? Throwing a lot of stuff at you guys today. Now we're going to get a little bit closer to my arena. Holland. John Holland is a career theorist. His idea was that people have particular unique traits and skills, okay? Like, I am pretty good at getting in front of a bunch of people and talking to them, right? I can't catch a basketball if you threw it at me, right? I have no eye-hand coordination. Other people have eye-hand coordination and don't want to stand up here and talk to people, right? So if you match, the second part of his theory, is that if you match people's traits and skills with jobs that take those traits and skills, people will be happy and successful and retain their employment. Right? That makes sense, doesn't it? So he broke people down into some categories. Realistic, social, conventional, artistic, investigative, enterprising. So realistic people are doers. They're hands-on. Think about a carpenter or a mason or a farmer, right? Social people are helpers. They want to deal with people, not things, right? Conventional people are organizers. They want to deal with things, not people, right? Artistic people are creators. They want to make something. They want to see it. They want to be creative in their work. Investigative are thinkers. And then enterprising are persuaders and leaders. So who are my realistic people in here? Who wants to be hands-on? Who's got to learn that way? Who wants to get in it and do it? Yeah, we got some realistic people, right? How about my social people? Yeah, there's usually a lot when I'm talking to this kind of people, right? We got a lot more social people. How about conventional? Whose desk is super organized? Who color codes things? Who makes lists? Yeah. How about artistic? Whose desk is a mess? Yeah, right? How about investigative? Who wants to get to the bottom of it? Yeah, we got at least one. Was that you? Oh. And then how about enterprising? Who's our leaders, our persuaders? Oh, that's going to be a problem. Okay, we at least have one leader. All right. So if you think about people that you work with, people that are part of your team, individuals that you supervise, can you sort of put them in these categories? Do you know them well enough to sort of know what their strengths are?
I think people are thinking more than one.
Oh yeah, yeah. When Holland does it, he gives you a code as a combination of 3. Yeah. But we know, right? We kind of know what people's strengths are. So utilize that, right? If you know somebody is a conventional person, right? They want to deal with things. Everything is super organized. They color code everything. They are not a people person. Is that who you want to put in an outreach position? No, right? So when you're assigning tasks and duties and delegating things, be cognizant of what people's strengths are. What are they good at? Because if you let them do something they're good at, they're going to enjoy it. And if they enjoy their employment, they're going to keep their job, right? Does anybody love doing something they're terrible at? I don't do things I'm terrible at on purpose, right? I don't do it. I do things that I'm good at because I enjoy it. So use that. Any questions about Holland before I leave Holland? Yep. So leading to behavioral change. I want you to watch this video. And while you're watching this video, if the sound is terrible, I will make Chris Anderson do something about it.
Not my fault.
But watch this video and think about an employee or somebody you work with or part of your team, somebody you supervise, who needs to make a change in the way they go about things. Okay? You've been trying to drive it into their head. This is the way you need to do it. But they've been doing it this way anyway. Right? Or you don't know how to help them make that change. Right? And consider trauma. Go way back to MHA's workshop and consider trauma. And then think about how you speak to employees, especially when you're frustrated. Because if your employees or the people you supervise are doing things wrong, does that frustrate you? Yep, right? I got a pretty affirmative yep in the front row. Yeah. Okay. You got it? No. Oh, so I don't blame you again?
Dr. Switzer?
Yes, come in. I'm just washing my hands.
I'm Catherine Bigman. Janet Carlisle referred me.
Oh, yes. Very delightful.
Yes, that's me. Should I lay down?
Oh, no, we don't do that anymore. Just have tea. And let me tell you a bit about our billing. I charge $5 for the first 5 minutes. And then absolutely nothing after that.
That sounds great. Too good to be true, as a matter of fact.
Well, I can almost guarantee you that our session won't last the full 5 minutes. Now, we don't do any insurance billing, so you would either have to pay in cash or by check.
Wow, okay.
And I don't make change.
All right.
Go.
Go.
Well, tell me about the problem that you wish to address.
Oh, okay. Well, I have this fear of being buried alive in a box. I start thinking about being buried alive and I begin to panic.
Has anyone ever tried to bury you alive in a box?
No, but truly thinking about it does make my life horrible. I mean, I can't go through tunnels or be in an elevator or in a house, anything boxy.
So what you're saying is you're claustrophobic?
Yes, that's it.
All right, well, let's go, Catherine. I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life.
Shall I write them down?
Well, if it makes you comfortable, it's just 2 words. We find most people can remember them.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, here there.
Stop it!
Stop it. Yes, S-T-O-P, new word, I-T.
So, what are you saying?
You know, it's funny. I say 2 simple words, and I cannot tell you the amount of people who say exactly the same thing you're saying. I mean, this is not Yiddish, Catherine. This is it. Stop it.
So, I should just stop it.
There you go. I mean, you don't want to go through life being scared of being buried alive in a box, do you? I mean, that sounds frightening. Then stop it.
I can't. I mean, it's been with me since childhood.
No, we don't go there. Just stop.
So I should just stop being afraid of being buried alive in a box.
You got it. Good girl. Well, it's only been 3 minutes, so that will be $3.
But I only have a 5, so.
Well, I don't make change.
Then I guess I'll take the full 5 minutes.
Fine. All right. Well, what other problems would you like to address?
I'm bulimic. I stick my fingers down my throat.
Stop it! That is some kind? Don't do that.
But I'm compelled to. My mom used to call me fat.
No, we don't go there.
But I've been happy to.
No, we don't go there either.
But my horoscope did say.
We definitely don't go there. Just stop it. What?
Well, I have self-destructive relationships with men.
Stop it! You want to be with a man, don't you?
Yes.
Well, then stop it. Don't be such a big baby.
I wash my hands a lot.
That's all right. I wash my hands all the time. There's a lot of germs in there. Yeah, don't worry about that.
I'm afraid to drive.
Well, stop it! How are you going to get around? Get in the car and drive, you kook. Stop it!
You stop it!
What's the problem, Kathy?
I don't like this. I don't like this therapy at all. You're just telling me to stop it.
And you don't like it?
No, I don't.
So you think we're moving too fast, is that it?
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right, then let me give you 10 words that I think will clear everything up for you. You want to get a pad and a pencil for this one?
Right.
Are you ready? All right, here are the 10 words. Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box!
Okay. It's pretty funny, right? But how often do we do that? Right? Stop it. You ever tell a person who's really worked up, calm down. That ever work for you? Right? Okay, so there's a solution. And it's called motivational interviewing. Has anybody had any experience with MI? Awesome. Awesome. So, motivational interviewing is a collaborative, right? Working together, client-centered, focused on them, not you, form of guidance used to elicit and strengthen motivation for change. What do we know about motivation? Motivation predicts action. We know that from our own lives. If we're motivated to do it, we generally do it. I'm generally not motivated to do the dishes. They pile up. Okay? I am much more motivated to watch TED Talk videos online. Right? Okay, so motivation is behavior specific. Do we agree on that? Yes. John agrees with me. And motivation is changeable. We've all experienced that too, different levels of motivation, right? Today, I am going to drink 64 ounces of water. I am 10. I am confident I am going to do it, right? And I try to do it, and instead of getting any work done, I'm running to the bathroom every 7 minutes. My motivation goes down, right? So motivation is changeable. Motivation is interactive, and it's affected by both internal and external factors. Other people would be external, or other things that are outside of yourself. But internal motivation, the motivation that comes from within you, that's the motivation that's going to lead to real change. So the principles of motivational interviewing are to express empathy. We've talked about this in some of the other workshops. What is empathy, and how can you express it? John? Putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? How is that different from sympathy?
Well, sympathy you feel bad, whereas empathy, you're really going through the emotions of this person.
Right, you're relating to it, right? You're relating to their emotion, to their experience, instead of just feeling bad for them. There's a big difference there. Developing discrepancy, right? This terrible thing is going on for you, but you're not doing anything about it. But you don't like this terrible thing, but you're not doing anything about it. There's a discrepancy there. Rolling with resistance, because when you start trying to motivate people to make a change, what are they going to do? Resist. They're going to resist. And what do we generally do when someone's resisting us? Even if, like, think about kids instead of employees.
Push harder.
Push harder. That's what we do. We push harder, we blame, right? How does that work out for us? It doesn't, right? So you gotta roll with it. Recognize it. Yeah, it does suck, right? It's not great. It could be better. You can roll with resistance. Somebody comes to you and they say, I can't deal with this person anymore, whether it's a coworker or somebody we support, I can't do it, I'm over it, they don't listen to anything I say, I'm not going there again. Right? So you can say something like, you're really frustrated and you don't want to go there again. Yeah, right? But you don't do anything more than that, right? This is a great way to, like, end fights with your husband, right? Oh, you're mad that I didn't take the garbage out. And then you just stop talking. And they're like, yeah, but you don't say anything back. It kind of goes, right? You just recognize it. That's called a reflection, and we're going to talk about that more in a second. Or you can kind of do a reflection with a twist, right? So you don't want to go to that house anymore, but you really want to keep your job, or you really enjoy what you do, right? Or with probation, it's like, so you don't want to continue treatment, you don't like your counselor, but on the other hand, you don't want to go back into addiction. Right? So developing that discrepancy. Or give them control, right? Give them control. You have choices, right? You have choices. Nobody's forcing you to go to that house. Nobody's forcing you to go to treatment, right? It's up to you. But what's going to happen if you don't? What's your plan? Make them own it. Authenticity, right? Okay, so you're not going to go to that house anymore. What's your plan? What are your ideas? You want to jump in?
Well, the problem I see with taking that stance is if they're already feeling that sense of depression of I can't, and I come back with, you've got choices, they may choose the wrong choice. Whereas if I have the opportunity to lift them up a little bit and give them a broader picture of, yeah, it sucks, but you know as I do, the satisfaction in our hearts and in wherever it is of helping people who really need help. You're so good at so many things. I'm sorry that this problem is burdening you down, but think of the things you're good at. Think of the people who appreciate you here. Think of me that appreciates you coming to work. I mean, start right there.
So that's a really good point, right? But instead of telling them, the point of motivational interviewing is to get them to tell you that. Make it their idea, right? How many of you are married in a significant relationship, right? So if you say, this is the thing that I think we should do, you're resistance, right? But if you make it their idea, right? Suddenly it's their idea, and it gets done, right? You just put the little seed in there, and you get them to tell you, you know, I am appreciated here, and I do enjoy my job, and I really appreciate the gratification I get. You know, maybe it isn't so bad. So instead of telling them, it's eliciting them to tell you that internal motivation, right? But, like he was saying, you want to support their strengths. That's what you want to talk about. You want to talk about their strengths, what they're good at. And if you can get them to tell you their strengths, that's even better. So if you can make that connection to that cultural competence workshop that we talked about, how everybody is different and that's all right. It's not just all right, it's great. Right? And then also those Holland Code things, using people's strengths. So the spirit of motivational interviewing is autonomy. What is autonomy? John?
Feeling of knowing that you got this.
Yeah, right? It's that knowing you got this. It's owning it. It's yours, right? And collaboration, working together, and then that evocation, getting them to tell you why they want to keep their job, why they like it, why they want to make the change, why they should go back to that house, why they should continue treatment, making it their idea. So, how do you know if what you're saying is working? You hear change talk. Change talk. I hope to be able to work with this person in the future. I hope. You know, I want to do a better job. I want to work with this person. I believe I can. I believe I can go back to that house and work with this person. I plan to go there tomorrow. Or I plan to go there after lunch. Right? I agree that I will work it out with them. Or I will work it out with them. Change talk. And that's what you want to support. When you hear these things, that's what you want to support. That's the positive reinforcement you want to get when you hear that change talk. Okay? So, there are techniques, right? I'm not just going to tell you, like, here's some high and, you know, look it up yourself. There's techniques. So there's basic motivational interviewing techniques. Do I have any kayakers or canoers in the room? All right. What do you use to move your boat down the creek, river, across the ocean? What do you use? The oar. The oar. Right? So here's an acronym you can use. See how it says oars? O-A-R-S. Open-ended questions. What is an example of an open-ended question? Or what is an open-ended question? One that cannot be answered yes or no, or with a one-word answer. So a closed-ended question would be like, did you get a good night's sleep last night, Kevin?
Yes.
Yes. An open-ended question would be, tell me about, well, that's not a question, tell me. How did you sleep last night? How was it for you? How did you feel?
I slept really well.
I slept really well, right?
I don't know what else to do.
So instead of yes, right, you said a sentence. So think about when your kids come home from school and you're like, how was school? Good. Right?
What'd you learn?
Yeah. What did you learn in school today?
Nothing.
Nothing. Right? What was the best part of your day? Lunch. Gym. Right? Gym. Lunch. Right? But trying to get that out of them. Right? What was so great about lunch? You might get it something. Oh, pizza. Right? You got to have pizza. Awesome. You love pizza. Right? Who'd you sit with? Right? What'd you talk about? And you're going to get a little bit more. Right? Anything exciting?
Not from a teenager, you're not going to get any.
Practice with your teenagers. It's a great thing to practice with your teenagers, motivational interviewing. So what are some open-ended questions you could use with people you supervise?
Tell me what happened.
Tell me what happened.
How did your shift go today?
How did your shift go? Anything out of the ordinary? Can you tell me about anything out of the ordinary? What did you learn? What else can you ask? What's that?
What are you working on?
What are you working on?
Within that involves thought process.
Yeah, what are you working on?
Anything I need to know?
Yeah.
What do you think?
No. That's kind of a closed-ended question, right? So is there anything I need to know? Nope. So how can you make that question open-ended?
What do I need to know?
Tell me what I need.
What do I need to know? No. Right? You can't say no to that. I mean, you can, but it sounds funny. So yeah, what do I need to know? So just thinking about turning your close-ended questions, which we ask a lot. Close-ended questions have their own place, right? If you need to clarify information quickly, did this happen? Did that happen? Close-ended questions are great. But if you're motivating someone, try to talk to them with open-ended questions. So you get them talking more than you're talking. How about affirmations? What's an affirmation?
Praise.
Praise. Yeah, it's praise. But in motivational interviewing, there's this thing about praise. You don't want to say, I'm proud of you. I like what you did. Because who am I talking about? Myself. Me. I like it. I'm proud. Internal motivation does not come from external forces. Right? You should be proud of yourself. You did such a great job. Right? It's different. So turn to somebody near you and give them an excellent affirmation. They gave you great affirmations? I keep them. Who got a great one? Who heard something they liked? Yeah, what did you hear?
It was just a good one. I can't repeat it all the time.
Sure. What did she focus on when she talked to you?
Just things about my personality and character that she appreciates.
Your strengths, right? She honed in on your strengths. Again, we're building strengths. I'm guessing we got some not so flattering affirmations from some of them. But yeah, how did it feel when you got an affirmation? How did that make you feel? Good. Good. Right? Did it want you to continue to do those things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So look for opportunities for affirmations. When you hear that change talk, right? Affirm it. How about a So I talked about reflections a little bit, right? So a reflection is a statement that reflects back both content and feeling, okay? So, Heather, tell me about your day so far.
I slept in and did go to the gym, and I'm okay with that.
So you're feeling like it's okay to sleep in sometimes. That's it, right? But if I said, oh, you're really disappointed you didn't go to the gym, what are you going to say?
No, I'm okay.
No, I'm okay with it, right? So if you get a reflection wrong, they're going to tell you. That's the cool thing about reflections, right? They're going to tell you. So it's a way of checking in to make sure that you are listening. And it's a way to show them that you are listening. It's validating what they're saying.
But don't you think sometimes if you get the reflection wrong, you shut them down, now they're done with you? And I think sometimes if you get in that position, I think what we need is tools on how to kind of fix it then. Because I think that might happen sometimes.
Right. So what happens if you get a reflection wrong? They'll tell you.
Sometimes.
And even if they don't come right out and say it, right? Others will be, no, I'm okay with it, right? But what else can I use to know that I got it wrong? Facial expressions, body language, right? Even maybe their tone of voice. Even if they're sort of like, oh yeah. Well, that's not like, yes, John.
One of the main ideas about motivational interviewing is a non-judgmental approach. So even if you do get it wrong, knowing you're not, it doesn't give that feeling of you're suddenly stepping on the toes.
Yeah.
You can always ask too, like, I think what you're saying means this. Am I right or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, but connect the feeling to the content. So I think what you're saying is you're feeling frustrated when you encounter this coworker, right? Maybe connect the feeling with the content, with a reflection. And it's great because it shows that you are listening. We talked about how important listening is, right? And validation. Feels good when you're validated, okay? When somebody is angry, right? Maybe they're not even angry at you, right? But they're just angry. And they're way up here, right? And you go, stop it, calm down. No, you go, I understand you're angry because this happened. Not, I agree with you and I think you should be angry. That's not what I said. I understand you're angry because this happened. I understand that you're frustrated. You're feeling frustrated because this happened. It's just a validation of their feeling, right? And when somebody validates their feeling, it goes from here, and you can kind of, yes, right? I am angry. I am frustrated. It shows that you're listening and that you're validating their feeling. Not that you're agreeing with how they feel. That's different, right? Because you could think, just like Newhart here did, like, that's crazy. What are you, kook? Right? But that doesn't feel good. No, I understand. I understand. Let's see what we can do about it. And then summaries. So just sort of summing up what they said, again, to show that you are listening and that you did get what they are saying. Also in a summary, you can get some of that change talk if they said it. So, Heather, we talked about how you didn't go to the gym today and you slept in, but I heard you say that you agree that you're going to set your alarm and you're going to get up tomorrow and go to the gym. Right? So just reaffirming that change talk that you heard. Any questions about open-ended questions, affirmations, reflections, or summaries? Do you think you can all practice some of these things? They're not hard, right? This isn't hard. I'm not asking you to stand on your head or do a cartwheel, right? These are just ways of speaking to people. It's just recognizing opportunities that might be missed because you're not looking for them. However, let's see, where do I want to be? I want to be where I'm at. Okay, so, however, these are roadblocks to communication. This is what's going to shut people down. This is what's going to put up a barrier. The righting reflex. We all want to fix it, right? We want to fix it. Oh no, that's not how, you shouldn't be angry about that, right? They can't help it. You can't be angry at them for that. You're wrong. I'm right. Talking about yourself, right? Making it about you. I like it. This is what I would do. The question answer trap. That's where they say something, so you ask another question, and they say something, and then you ask another question. That's just going to be this back and forth thing where they're not ever going to get to where, what we were talking about, where they tell you why they should stay, right? Or why they should go back to that house. So be careful of that, because what you want is you want them to do way more of the talking than you're doing. The expert role, right? This is where you're like, well, I'm the boss, and I know everything, and I'm going to tell you what to do because I am the expert. No, you want them to come up with that, right? Nobody really likes to be told, you know, this is the, sometimes it has to happen, right? We've got policies, we've got procedures, sometimes it has to happen. But be careful with that. And then blaming, right? That's your fault. I did that to Chris, right? I would not probably get much help out of Chris next time I gave a workshop because I blamed him for the sound, right? Chris is probably not motivated to help me again, right? So be careful of these roadblocks. Okay, so if we want to connect this all back to Bridges Out of Poverty, the first thing is relationships are important. They're so important. And you do not have to be best friends with your coworkers or the people that you supervise, but you do need to establish a relationship. You need to know who they are so that you can do the things that we've talked about today. Relationships are so important. You're not going to get anywhere unless you start developing relationships. Because that's people about people. I had a teacher once tell me that life is about making real connections with real people. Everything else is just waiting until you die. And that's really true. Real connections with real people. Attitudes. Many attitudes are part of culture and belief systems. So if you think about an iceberg. What do we know about an iceberg? There's a lot underneath the surface, right? I gotta do this quick. Okay, so there's a lot underneath the surface. Underneath our surface, right, behaviors are above the water. That's what other people can see, our behaviors. But underneath the water, driving our behaviors, are our thoughts and our feelings, but those are based on our attitudes and beliefs. We have grown up with these things. These things are instilled in us, and they are all different because we all have had different experiences, right? And so attitudes are really important, and to be able to recognize that in other people. Because confronting somebody's belief system is going to be very difficult for them. However, if you have a relationship with them, that might be something that you can broach, right? Is that those attitudes and those belief systems. So if they have what you consider non-professional language, that's part of their belief system. That's part of their attitude, right? Or showing up late or not on time. That's part of their belief system. They don't believe that time is important, that punctuality is important. That's not part of it. So that's where, you got to make that internal motivation for change. Role models. Administrators, managers, and supervisors are more important as role models than has ever previously been addressed. And I really hope that I've made that point to you today, that you have to be the change you want to see. Because being a role model is so important. So important. Because have you ever had a boss that tells you one thing and then does something completely different themselves? It is very important that you be on time every morning and then they don't roll in until 9 o'clock. Seriously, dude? Right? That's how you feel about that. And then I want to read you a page out of Bridges. So I'm hoping this will connect really well for you when you go to the Bridges Out of Poverty training. But it's on 135 of the book, and I believe you have a copy of it in your handouts of 135. But it says, if an individual lives in an unpredictable environment and does not have an abstract replica of reality, that's many of our first-line workers. They live in an unpredictable environment. Their wages probably don't meet all of their needs, right? They're trying to come up here, but they're climbing that way, right? So if an individual lives, or their schedule is unpredictable, how many people do you supervise that have a really unpredictable schedule, right? Some of those schedules are crazy. So if an individual lives in an unpredictable environment and does not have an abstract replica of reality, then the individual cannot plan. If the individual cannot plan, then he or she cannot predict. If an individual cannot predict, they do not know cause and effect. If an individual does not know cause and effect, then he or she cannot identify consequence. If an individual cannot identify consequence, then he or she cannot control impulsivity. Job loss triggers are always impulsive. Always. If an individual cannot control impulsivity, then he or she has an inclination towards criminal behavior. Insert job loss trigger here, right? Insert an attitude or a belief that's coming out in a way that is not conducive to the work environment. So, that's all I have, but I would like to offer questions, comments, burning desires to get something off your chest. We have like 3 minutes. Are they? Well, thank you very much for your time. I know that time is not a renewable resource, and I really appreciate you spending your time with me today.
Thank you. Cody, we have a little gift for you for taking time to come with us today. In your packet, we have a survey for you to fill out. Please turn it in up here near Beth before you leave on the training, so we want to get feedback. I think, especially the way Cody ended this, is a great lead-in to our Bridges training that we're going to be having in a couple of weeks. So I hope that you guys have found with all 4 sessions, they all had, and you'll see once we get to the Bridges training, it's all going to tie together. So we had the people from the Mental Health Association come in and talk about some of, ideas and tips when you're working with people that have mental health conditions. So think, again, your employees, that you don't know what happens to them before they get to you. You don't know what's happened to them this morning before they came to work. And all of that kind of tells a story. We had the session on cultural competency, understanding that people have different backgrounds and different beliefs when they come to us, and we need to be respectful of those and not put our beliefs on them. The last session was a lot of retention strategies and community resources that are available for your staff. And we had Joe Alexis talking about community helping hands and different things that can be done there. And then today, the job loss triggers and motivational interviewing. So you will see it all come together. In the end, we put these sessions together because we wanted this Bridges training to be very impactful and be very meaningful for you guys, and not just another training that you're attending. We know it's hard to come to these sessions. We know it's hard to get away from the day-to-day stuff, but we really feel that if we're going to improve our retention, we've got to invest in our workforce and we've got to understand them. So I'm gonna just kind of ask one last question before we take off, and this was for those of you that were at the last session. Who's responsible for the retention of our staff? We all are. Right, so keep that in mind. We'll see everybody in a couple of weeks at the Bridges training. If you've not RSVP'd, please do so, and if you did not sign in, please do so on your way out.